We need a theme song. Yeah.
Magnificent.
I just went to a mass in at a Norbertine monastery in Silverado.
I'm having your favorites. Espresso with half and half
It's
cooked froth milk.
yummy.
Barista who? Me. So much has happened since
Yeah,
our last podcast.
that's right. Guess the big thing is the attempted assassination. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was in the confessional line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it completely distracted me, and I walked up to a guy I knew ahead of line. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
So I think that a lot of people, their response immediately was, oh, the president, but then totally overshadowed the people that actually got hurt, as well as the shooter who did die, and pray for his soul.
Yeah, very odd. There's a lot that went wrong. There's a lot that it should have never happened in the first place. Yeah, at the end of the day, none of it's good. But they keep releasing footage that people were filming months after this now, after this happened. I don't even know if we really know the full story yet, but it does seem like the shooter did, knew his way around the whole scene, able to set up shop right in the midst of it all.
Thinking about when we went to the Libertarian Convention, National Convention, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Remember how we were saying, even in our podcast, we're like, yeah, the security wasn't anything intense, and we
Mhm.
felt like it would be so easy to just kind of sneak in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened on
Yeah.
July 13th. We were talking about this image, how this kind of became super iconic was this raised fist and, portrayal of perseverance.
Yeah, incredible perseverance.
This photo actually also reminds me a lot of the statue at the Arlington Cemetery
Iwo
where
Jima.
where they have the Marines that are kind of all stacked on top of each other
Yeah.
trying to lift up the flag. It's kind of this kind of diagonal composition that happens,
Hmm.
as well as the American flag flying in the background. Yeah, and then the other one that we should talk about, which is the moment where ducked and got into cover. Photography has been known throughout art history as a way of documentation and journalism. You can think about Dorothy Lang, her Great Depression portraits that she would do, especially of like the starving mother. That's just so like classical American photography, documentation
Yeah.
of the social and economical struggle that was going on. I think these two photographs that have been shared will also become part of that collection of very historical American photography. Yeah, so this kind of has like a glow to it, you're right.
It's framed by the Secret Service agent's legs there kneeling. Notice the flag there in that hat.
Yeah.
Wonder
Well,
what
he
it,
was wearing his MAGA hat, and I guess they had
oh,
taken
is
it.
that what that is? That's what that
Yeah,
is.
that's his hat that I guess
Yeah.
is in the arm of the agent who's covering him from one side.
Wow.
But kind of this like moment where really surreal moment, right? You
Yeah.
were just put into harm's way. A person behind you died. You're crouched down. Blood dripping from his face. Like things can happen so quickly in that moment. It
Yeah.
happens.
And at this point, the crowd around him does not know what's happening. They just know that he went down. They don't
Yes.
know if he was shot, like in the head terminally, or not. That particularly, I think, is an incredible thing that raced through his mind because he immediately thought of all the people who had come to see him. And the whole reason he got up after this photo and said, fight, 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 was to reassure them that he was okay.
The fist has always been such a strong symbol, and just kind of this clenching of the fist saying like I'm still here, we're still here
Yeah.
is very powerful as well. Actually, the more that I look at it, I like this one a lot better. Um, there's something sacred and holy about this, especially the lighting.
Yeah.
No, it's almost like when you pray and you do get on your knees,
Yeah,
you know, this submission that's just reflected in that natural position of getting on your knees or bowing down or even thinking
yeah,
about how other cultures pray.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so it definitely has this kind of spiritual aspect to it.
Oh,
And
100.
the glow just has so much symbolism too.
Yeah. A lot of people, in our maybe grandparents' age or our parents' age have photos of, President Reagan in their home, right?
Yeah.
And they have that on a wall somewhere. I think I'm going to put this photo on a wall in my home.
It's incredible what photography can make you feel and understand and see. Nobody else except that photographer saw this moment and took a shot at that moment. But
Yeah.
he's able to now share it with the world and show, all the complexities, all the
Yeah, and
emotions,
photographers probably didn't even know that they were looking at.
which is also good with photography. It's so immediate. Another thing about this photograph is it's very limited color palette, but it's red, white, and blue.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it
you know,
is.
even the color of his face, because there's this reflection off of the hat,
Yeah,
it makes his face really red, plus the blood.
that's a really good point.
So yeah, another thing I guess that happened was President Biden dropping out and then Kamala Harris coming up to stage,
Yeah.
stepping up to the plate.
I think a bunch of feminists will say that this is our chance, especially with Kamala, who's Indian and black. I think it would just be the greatest affront to women if she was to attain the office of the president because she manipulated her way into the district attorney office in San Francisco through her, sexual relations with the Democrat Party leader there. And I think that would just be an unfortunate series of events to lead to our first female president.
You know what's so funny is driving back from New York, I was just kind of reading about trying to figure out Kamala Harris's heritage.
Mhm.
And I ended up stumbling upon, I don't have Facebook. I ended up stumbling upon this Facebook post. Then I start scrolling and reading people's comments. I think it's so silly. And they were vicious with each other. I was like, wow, is this what social media is? I'm so glad I'm not on it.
Mhm.
But there was one comment who was like, I don't care if she slept with so and so and so and so. She can do what she wants to with her body. And then someone responded like, "Oh, well, I don't think that's a good message to send to our little girls." The woman responded, she's like, "You need to look deep into yourself and reflect on yourself and ask yourself why that bothers you." And you're like, probably because, you know, respecting your body and your human dignity is something that's important.
I think there's the other bit about her great grandfather owning slaves.
Jamaican, so that's her black side is from Jamaica.
Yeah.
And her heritage there does have some slave owning.
What I think is kind of funny is that a while ago, like decades ago, Trump actually donated about $5,000 to one of her campaigns. Back when
Oh
she
yeah.
was, I don't know, I guess less radical, and back
Yeah.
when Trump was a Democrat, which I think a lot of people forget. You know what people also forget about Trump is that he donated his entire salary every year when he was president.
This man is so selfless.
Yeah, yeah.
Another thing that I think is just not in Kamala Harris's favor is she does not have she doesn't have the same connection that Trump does internationally. Trump is good friends as well as a good business partner with most of the world, and he has established himself in his own business internationally, but then of course being the prior president, he's established himself. And so for Kamala Harris to come in there and even try to pretend that she's going to have the same international relationships is just so wrong. And the United States, like I will always say this, the United States, when you vote in the United States, you vote for the world. And I actually, so President Trump got shot on the 13th, I got a text from a friend from Israel, he's like, "Oh, did you hear what happened with Trump? How is it in DC?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not there right now, but I think everything's fine." And he's like, "We love Trump here in Israel." And he's not Jewish Israeli.
Hmm.
He's Arab Israeli.
Mm.
He's like, we love him. We do. Because he has promoted and tried to fight for peace in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords.
Yeah. Yeah. It's ironic that Obama, who deployed thousands of drone strikes in the various wars we were fighting at the time, got the Nobel Peace Prize, but Trump didn't.
I think that's also a good segue into the um, opening ceremony for the Olympics.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, 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 yeah. What a crazy, pathetic, pathetic organization it's become, in my opinion. I have seen some commentary and it's like, oh, there's a reporter from Australia and she's like, my family is really big into the Olympics. Like I had an aunt or an uncle that went to the Olympics growing up and competed for something. But now, it's like I would never encourage my children to try to go to that sort of thing. It's evil. It's twisted.
I went to church. So being in New York, obviously going to different Catholic churches, kind of exploring around, had some great experiences. I think that DC needs to kind of pick up on this, where we talk about state and religion together, because the homilies that I heard in New York were just so based and so conservative and just so great. The
Yeah.
last one that I went to was about the opening ceremony, and the priest gets up there and he's like, my first reaction was anger. And he's like, how could people and the world celebrate mocking the person and the God that I love so much?
Yeah.
And he's like, then I prayed about it, and you know, and he thought, well, my reaction shouldn't be hate. It should be an overwhelming amount of love, prayers, reaching out, education about who Christ is and who the Virgin Mary is, who the apostles are, that famous painting of the Last Supper,
Yeah.
right?
There's a line in the Bible, it's like you should cherish being, criticized and ridiculed because it is for me that you are doing that, for me being God, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, he also quoted Christ on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they've done.
I was thinking about that. I think that would be if I was going to put any sort of Bible verse on my as a bumper sticker on my car, that's what I would put.
Yeah, I guess thinking about also Trump, because I'm thinking about a bumper sticker that I saw actually, and it says something about I'm going to vote for the man who lost his wealth for his country versus the man, this was at the time when Biden was still running, versus the man who gained wealth and lost our country. Also encouraging our viewers to really just be patriots, but active patriots. And, if you do end up having a conversation with your friends or person on the street or your family, and you do feel strongly about saving America, that there's going to be a point in time where you need to step up and speak. What do you think will happen? September 4th, Trump will debate Kamala Harris on Fox News. What do you think? How's it going to turn out?
Well, I think maybe by that time we'll have a nickname for Kamala Harris. You know, Trump's classic nickname giving,
Right?
uh, name calling. So he might drop that.
It's all
After the debate.
love. You're only
Yeah.
going to get something you love a nickname.
I think there's going to be a major point about her failure at the border. I think it's going to get spicy. 'Cause Trump's not afraid to say what's on his mind.
I think there's going to be the issue of the border. There's going to be an issue of one of the topics discussed of whether or not she would want non-US citizens to vote, because that's something that the Democrats are pushing for now, because they're squirming and they're losing their votes. And so who to turn to but our lovely illegal immigrants that are coming over. think another one is going to be about her heritage. I think another one is going to be about her past. Another one, hopefully, will be she really hasn't done anything significant while being vice president, and that, give her an opportunity to speak to the nation and say what are her goals. Because currently she's really promoting this like love who you want to love and do what you want to do and be who you want to be, and this sends a terrible message to our youth. So thinking about what will she actually come in, what will her message be.
What is her morality?
I think we should end it with a prayer for the people who were injured as well as the shooter on July 13th. The shooter's name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He was 20 from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. We're going to be praying for Thomas's soul. We're going to be praying for another man named David Dutch who was shot in the chest and the liver, and he was actually induced into a coma. And we're going to pray for
Corey Contemporary, the man who got shot in the head.
And he lost his life. And then the second man who was shot and injured, James Copenhaver, 74, who still remains in the hospital in serious but stable condition. All right, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Blessed art
Blessed art thou, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners,
the hour of death.
Amen. So, Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle.
Lead your protection against the wickedness
against
and snares of the devil.
May God rebuke
you. Can we humbly pray? And do thou, Prince of the
the
heavenly host, by the
cast
power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen.
All right. Till next time. Stay happy.
Okay.